Recording in progress.
Okay, good evening, everyone. Our session shall begin very soon. So if you are outside, then you are welcome to join us. Okay, so I would like to welcome everyone to this session, the very parallel session 1.1, where we will be discussing about a topic, very interesting topic on the Interdisciplinary Research Initiative, Environment, Socials, and Governance for Planetary Health. I'm the moderator of today's session. My name is Nurul Hazrina Idris, and I am from the Faculty of Built Environment and Surveying, Department of Geoinformation, Universiti, Teknologi, Malaysia. And in this session, we will have 4 speakers with very interesting topic. We'll be discussing several, and the panel will be, there will be 4 panels, and here is how it goes. It was supposed to be sitting at the front, but unfortunately we do not have the screen, so I do not think that it will be convenient. So I think we will call all the speakers to be at the front during the discussion sessions. Okay, so in this session, we will explore 3 sub-themes identified for the Congress through a range of short presentations. The topic is on the planetary health, which is a new research field that is focused on finding smart ways to use Earth's resources so we can stay healthy and protect the environment. So 3 main keys or factors are in the environment, the socials, and also governance. These are crucial factors in higher education to shape institution image and appeal. So considering this environmental impact, social responsibilities, and governance practice, this should help attract and retain students and also our faculty member to sustainable and social responsible organizations. Okay, so I think without further ado, I would like to introduce our very first speakers. Today is Mr. Camar Ameril. Mr. Camar is an assistant professor from Mindanao State University, the Philippines. Okay, and he will be delivering his talk. And the title is on the One Health Interdisciplinary Strategies to Combat Antimicrobial Resistance for Planetary Health, Integrative Approach from Community to Ecosystem. So without further ado, I would like to welcome Mr. Camar, and the floor is yours.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi ta'ala wabarakatuh. Thank you for having me, and thank you for the kind introduction. So in the next 15 minutes, I'll be talking about one of the research initiatives from the university in Mindanao, that is Mindanao State University in the Philippines. So please bear with me, and This is about antimicrobial resistance, One Health, and how we can move this forward to planetary health. So, but before that, I have a very brief introduction to the university where I came from. So I am from the southern part of the Philippines. What you can see there are the pins of the 11 independent campuses of the Mindanao State University. It is one of the two largest university systems. It is a state university in the Philippines. And currently, the main campus is in Marawi City, and currently, the university is led by a system president, and in the name of the Honorable Attorney Basari Di Makuta Mapupano. And he is now represented by the Presidential Staff Management Director, Attorney Rashid Pandi over there. So under his administration, he has developed a 10-point agenda, and one of which I'll be talking about is under priority agendum number 2, which is innovation in research, in extension, and in production. So strengthening these areas. And this one of the priority projects, research projects that the university is currently conducting. And yes, the university has around 17 faculties and academic units who offer various undergraduate and graduate programs. So ranging from agriculture to business to medicine, engineering, and information technology or computing sciences. So Marawi City, it's considered as the Islamic city of the country, and our university is actually overlooking the majestic Lake Lanao, which is one of the 17 ancient lakes of the world. And this is one of our biggest laboratory fields in the university. Okay, so now this brings me to antimicrobial resistance, One Health, and planetary health. In the left side of in the left side corner, you can see this is a simplified picture of the relationships among, you have there at the core is personalized health, and then you have public health, and then going in a larger scope, we have the global health, and then there comes One Health, in which we integrate the human health along with the animal health and the environment. And antimicrobial resistance needs, this is a consensus, a global consensus, that antimicrobial resistance, or AMR, needs One Health approach to address its complexity. And again, because we're talking about from community to ecosystems, we can bring this into a larger scale into the planetary health, where we consider the natural ecosystems. And we talk about microorganisms, bacteria, for example, being evolved into superbugs or antimicrobial resistant strains are emerging. Okay, so this is now becoming a global concern. And in fact, the number would say that around 1.2 million currently are the cases of antimicrobial resistant, patients suffering from the antibiotic resistance. And this is comparable to the number of car or vehicular accidents. And in 2050, it is projected to rise up to 10 million cases of resistant microorganisms. Patients suffering from antimicrobial resistant bacteria. And this is very comparable to the number of cancer patients, which is, you can see there, it's 10 million cases. So this is an estimate in the year 2022. And the number is actually rising. And even the World Health Organization identified antimicrobial resistance as one of the top 10 threats for human health. And in 2023, the United Nations Environmental Protection released a flagship report that says we have to strengthen environmental action in One Health response to the problem of these superbugs. And there, global health, food security, and economics will be tremendously be affected, and the countries to suffer a lot are those that are in the low and middle income countries, including the Philippines. So therefore, because of this problem, the Mindanao State University has led a research program called Interregional Network through One Health approach to combat antimicrobial resistance. Okay, so the program has the following objectives. Number one is to survey, a geographic AMR surveillance. So we are having a comprehensive approach on this. So we included food products, livestock, aquaculture, water, soil, and the healthcare setting. So number two is on the socio-economic and socio-cultural aspects, because growing in a low and middle income countries, it is very difficult to change lifestyle. And it has been a habit, really, the use of antimicrobials, antibiotics. Even though we have regulations, very good regulations on that, we still have problems in the implementation on the regulation of the use of antibiotics, not just in the healthcare setting, but also in the veterinary care setting. And that's why we included the socio-economic and socio-cultural dimensions of AMR. And most importantly, we aimed to establish a database wherein we have a comprehensive data from our current studies led by the Mindanao State University and partner institutions, as well as integrating existing data in the country. Because Philippines has been lacking so much data. No, we are very far behind Thailand or Vietnam when it comes to the data on the antimicrobial resistance. Okay, and number four, we wanted to create bacterial collections, or we call it biobanking, so that we can use these microorganisms for source tracking, and also for studies like development of antimicrobial novel therapeutic approaches. Okay, so that leads to the fifth objective for the development of strategies to combat antimicrobial resistance. And then we also wanted to predict the trends of antimicrobial resistance in the animal-human environment interface, particularly in the Philippine setting. And number seven, we are targeting a nationwide information and education campaign on AMR through regional and national events. And thank you for having us today. And this is like, presenting the initiatives and how we could present in a broader audience. Okay, and then number 8 is also to do on policy research and recommendations. And because we're involving the community leaders and the local point persons, we wanted to strengthen further the policy regarding the use of antimicrobials. Okay, so this is the program framework. This is a little bit complicated, but as you can see, in the center of the framework is the human health, the impact of antimicrobial resistance in human health. And Project 1 and 2 are led by the Mindanao State University, and we have other partner universities. These are HEIs, higher education institutions, big universities. One is Mindanao State University, General Santos City. We have Central Luzon State University and the University of the Philippines, Diliman. So we have other 3 partner universities having other component projects of the entire program. So here in the right side, you can see that we're aiming to develop an AMR database, and further, we wanted to initiate, the development of novel therapeutic technologies, cutting-edge biotechnology like plasmid addiction, and we have bacteriophage therapy. Okay? So this entire program will address or linked to at least 9 sustainable development goals ranging from life below water, life on land, and ultimately partnership to achieve the goals. Yes. So these are the harmonized sampling locations across the country. Although we have more than 10 regions of the country, we just have started initially in 4 of the regions. In the northern part, in Luzon, in Visayas to represent the central part of the Philippines, and we have in Mindanao. There are 2 regions considered here, the northern Mindanao in the Lanao areas, and also in the southern part in General Santos City, where another Mindanao State University campus is located. So these are the different sampling locations, and this is actually supported by Food and Agriculture Organization, as well as the Center for Tropical Medicine in the Philippines. Okay? So for the Mindanao State University, as I have mentioned earlier, we are leading 2 of the project components. Project 1, which is about the socio-cultural dimensions of AMR in the community and surveillance of the multi-drug resistant escape pathogens. So this stands for Enterobacteriaceae, Staphylococci, Klebsiella, Aeromonas, Pseudomonas, and other Enterobacter pathogens. These pathogens are mostly present also in the healthcare setting, and they are some causes of hospital or nosocomial infections. And Project 2 is about mapping the antibiotic-resistant bacteria, selected bacteria, using the One Health approach. So we're sampling from the lake, and it is extended to some river systems, and also wastewater effluent from hospitals. And we track the microorganisms, and we wanted to evaluate the role of the wildlife, like the fish that are caught in the wild, that is also eaten by most of the people around the lake. And we also wanted to know the knowledge, attitudes, and perceptions of the local community, and how they know about the antimicrobial resistance and its dissemination or spread. So Project 1 is studying the interchange of the pathogens from the household setting, hospital setting, and eventually it is being circulated in the community. And interestingly, based on the initial results that we have, especially in Lake Lanao, we are getting more of the antibiotic-resistant Klebsiella pneumoniae, one of the etiologic agent of pneumonia. Pneumonia is can be caused by virus, by fungi, or by bacteria, and one of those pathogens is Klebsiella pneumoniae. And in one of our tertiary hospitals, the Manomaiphiboon Medical Center, located in Marawi City, they have actually a high incidence of pneumonia. And they have isolated because they have also a surveillance program in the hospital as mandated by the Department of Health. And surprisingly, it matches to the Klebsiella pneumoniae that we are getting from the lake water. So there are many questions that are generated based on our initial data. And this is an ongoing project, and we are really curious about the role of the water and the role of the fish in the dissemination of the antibiotic-resistant bacteria that we're getting. And then, before I end, just a quick acknowledgement of the people that are behind the program. This is led by our Vice Chancellor for Research, Extension, and Development in the name of Dr. Fema Abamo, and other project leaders from other higher education institutions. And these are the socio-cultural team that is working on the community, and also the research assistants that are working with us in the laboratory in examining those pathogens or bacteria that we're isolating from the hospital setting, as well as in the water and in the fish. So thank you very much for your kind attention, and that ends my presentation.
Thank you very much, Mr. Camar, Ameril. It's very interesting sharing about the One Health, planetary health. I think this is quite a new topic to me as well, because I work a lot on the environment. New knowledge for me today. Well, I think let's move to the second speaker. Our second speaker is Dr. Kasemsan Manomaiphiboon. Dr. Kasemsan is an associate professor, joined graduate schools of energy and environment from King Mongkut University of Technologi, Thonburi, Thailand. So his talk he will be sharing today with us. This is, I think, about environment on the urban air quality in Greater Bangkok from an academic viewpoint, status, recent progress, and challenges. So I would like to welcome Mr. Kasemsan. The floor is yours.
Good afternoon, everybody. And can I have my slide? Sure. And I just want to thank the chairperson, for introducing me, and also want to thank World Technology University Network, and also its Congress, that have me here today. I also want to thank my university, and also the Department of International Affairs that sponsor me, to come here finally, and thanks a lot. Regarding the topic of my presentation, I would say my intention is to tell a story. Is like what has been going on in Greater Bangkok, and in terms of air pollution, and also how this associated with the activities that we have done, at Mohd, which is my university. And also want to share some perspective regarding how we're going to do, and in order to support air quality management to make it better, have better clean air, better conditions, have cleaner air in this important area. And for Greater Bangkok, it consists of Bangkok, which is the capital of the country, Thailand. And it is, of course, a very big city. And Greater Bangkok itself also include 5 other neighboring provinces. And the population in terms of registration, currently is pretty much 6 million. But, in reality, people comes during daytime, working, and sometimes we have migration, from other province, and then stay in the city. So on average, on working days, we can have up to 12 million people, in the city. And when it comes to city core, is highly urbanized. And when it comes to air pollutants, okay, in this area we pretty much talk about three pollutants. One is particulate matter, whose diameter is less than or equal to 2.5 micron, which is less than the cross section of human hair. We cannot see it, but it is there. And I think that most people, or all of you, know what PM 2.5 is. And we have ozone, which is oxidizing air pollutant, and also toxic organic gases. PM 2.5 has been regarded as the most concerned pollutant in Thailand and also in this area. And basically, when it comes to severe episodes, severe events, and this is how it looks. Okay, you can see on the right-hand side figure. So this is the photo taken from a very tall building located in the city core. So public health is the most important is driving motivations, and people who got affected so much by air pollutants basically are people who are outdoor workers, elderly, small kids, and pregnant females. I can change from here, look, and how. Okay, thanks. Well, what causes PM 2.5? We have a lot of vehicles, and we have a very big road networks. And as you can see, and this is on your left-hand side, okay, you can see the area of Greater Bangkok. Bangkok is in yellow, okay, situated in the middle. We have a huge network of roads and a lot of vehicles running along the roads, particularly during daytime and working days. We also have industrial estates, okay, located on perimeter of Greater Bangkok, and particularly in the southern part of the area, and we also have plenty of agricultural land. And then during dry season, farmers can get rid of crop residues by burning, and then this can generate smoke haze and then contribute to severe air pollutants from time to time. Next slide, please. Okay. So when it comes to health protection, recently we have the revision of National Ambient PM 2.5 standard. Okay, so we try to get closer to what has been recommended by World Health Organization. Where is the pointer? Okay, this is the pointer? Okay. So this is what WHO recommend, okay, as ultimate goal. Okay, daily average, okay, is 15 micron per cubic meter, and annual average is 5. And 2 years ago, okay, so this is what we have in Thailand, but 2 years ago and last year, so we adjusted to be lower. It means that the standard becomes more strict. So we get closer, but we still have a long way to go. And what has been very interesting and also important in Thailand is we're going to have the very first ever, I would say, the Clean Air Act. And right now is under legislative process. And we expect that the Thai government, Thai parliament going to approve, and then it's going to be issued sometime next year. And then and a lot of laws is going to be issued in order to have Thailand have better air quality management in a more coherent manner. So when we take a look at situation, okay, over long term, we can see different regions in Thailand. Greater Bangkok is in yellow, okay, is pretty much stable, but showing a little bit of good side, decreasing trend, but still not going down so well to to expected level that we would like to have, which is red line. We still have a long way to go in all the regions in Thailand. Haze is not limited to just Greater Bangkok. Greater Bangkok is pretty much right here, but sometimes we have spread of the haze, okay, over very large area, particularly over the whole central region. And this is show example. This is from satellite image. So we have haze over central region. Greater Bangkok is just right here. And this is we call haze spillover. But when we have just haze limited to just Greater Bangkok, it's going to be only limited here. And now we take a look at how we try to push ourselves forward towards understanding health and air pollution in this important area. So I do a little bit of Google Scholar search, and then try to categorize information into using these keywords: air quality, air pollution, health, and Bangkok. So you can see this is blue line. So I take a look at the number of documents, reports, and publications, okay, going back 60 years ago. So, and also constrain my search, okay, looking at health impact or health effect, okay, more closely. So we can see that, people or academic communities in Thailand and also international start to pay attention more and more, okay, for this subject, okay, over time, and the trends seem to grow exponentially, okay, which is good side. And we also looking at particulate matter pollution, okay, in central Bangkok, and looking at outdoor workers. I look into this paper, okay, which is really recent, and it tries to categorize study, okay, by types of illness and or health impacts, and as we can see that most study focus on respiratory system, and next to that is lung cancer. And how about recent progress, okay, in terms of how we understand air pollution. In this figure, it shows the current standard network, okay, of air quality monitoring stations, in Greater Bangkok. So good news is we have been able to combine two important networks together. In the past, the network of Pollution Control Department and the network of Bangkok Metropolitan Region are separated, not linked together, but now they collaborate and link together. So it's easier for the public to understand situation over large, over the area. And also we also have new development by a governmental agency using satellite image and then try to map PM 2.5 across the country. And we also have governmental sponsor network using low-cost sensor. And another good news is in Thailand, we also have a routine tower measurement that operate for at least 10 years already, that we can understand how PM 2.5 or other air pollutants change over heights. And these are important, okay, as the basic standard, like a basic tools, basic data resources that we know about air pollution. Okay, and then we have, this is like a policy picture. We want to understand better and better when it comes to emission sources, and then how we want to reduce, and then once we know their contributions, we should be able to come up with a proper strategy to manage PM 2.5 better. Okay, so and these are 6 boxes that I try to come up with challenges, current challenges, and what we should do. Okay, and like I list them, but I don't want to talk about this in too much detail, but I'm just going to tell only items that I consider important. So for emissions, we need more reliable inventories, and then we need to looking at clean energy and electric vehicle, and also try to look at air pollution in context of climate change too. And for monitoring, we have done better and better job with time, and we should try to utilize the data that are more and more available better and better. Public engagement, so academic communities should raise awareness of air pollution more and more, doing a better side communication, and then try to do a research to operation, in other words, technology transfers. So we suffer from poor understanding of emissions. We know major sources, but we really don't know percent, and then meteorology also, or weather condition can make things complex. So we have to come up with a proper design to study, and then communicate with policy workers better and better. Public health, very important. We need to continue the study, and study still have large uncertainty too. So we have to constrain in order to have constrain better data and things, and then we have a reliable and clearer picture of health impact. And we should try to look to compound conditions, like sometimes air pollution coupled with heat stresses and that. And in terms of education and career, we want to take in contemporary and critical issues, okay, and like bring in other subjects into consideration, like economy and also industrial management, something like that. And then we should try to develop technical and computer skill, okay, like for students, particularly data science, and also continue to generate or produce air quality and climate specialists. In fact, there is one slide which is missing, okay? So the one that I asked Saffron this morning, but it's okay, I can talk. I have added one slide, but it doesn't, it's not here, but it's okay. So in my university, we also concerned on PM 2.5. We also have many activities campus-wise to promote the awareness of PM 2.5 and how we're going to ensure that people who study or work in our campuses, going to have good condition, good environmental conditions. We also have local air quality monitoring network. So we use low-cost sensor. So these low-cost sensor installed at many places across campuses, main campus and also satellite campuses. And we also have EV vehicles, electrical vehicle that we try to promote, and we have research program, and then and this is very important. Currently, all inter-charter buses, pretty much EV already, and then we also encourage staff, to understand, and then accept the importance of EV more and more. And another thing is we also have interesting research program regarding using vegetation, plants or trees, to mitigate PM 2.5 over some local areas, and that. And so this, this ends my presentation, and thank you, terima kasih.
Thank you very much. Terima kasih. Thank you very. Thank you. Terima kasih is in Malay. In case you might already start to understand a little bit Malays here in Johor Bahru. Thank you very much, Dr. Kasemsan. I think let's move to the next speakers first before we have discussion sessions. I have a lot of notes to ask, very interesting topics, but I have to hold myself from asking questions. Okay, now I would like to welcome Professor Engobo Emeseh. She's coming all the way from the United Kingdom, University of Bradford. And Professor Engobo is the head of schools of law. She will be sharing with us about the education for sustainable development, the imperative and challenges for higher education institutions. So I think the floor is yours, Prof.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I think my presentation is going to be slightly different from those which have gone before, which is more science-based. And I think this is more around what we do as universities, what is the challenge that we face, and what are some of the imperatives, and where are the opportunities. So when we think about ESG within the context of planetary Earth, the key thing we must all understand, and we do all understand, is that most of the complex human developmental challenges are linked to the environment, whether that be climate change, indeed, whether that be wars, if it's be trade challenges, whatever they are, somehow, somewhere, they are linked to the global environmental challenges. So for instance, you'll find that a lot of displacements we find globally is linked to resource disputes. And resource disputes then lead to wars. And then laws then lead to migration and the like. If we think about climate change, of course, we know that's directly linked as well. And when we think about planetary health discourse, there is this understanding that there is an interconnection between all of these themes and our governance systems. That if we were to govern our processes, our systems, our institutions better, we will have less challenges the way that we do. So the problem we have isn't with the environment. The problem we have isn't with production. It's about how we do it and how we can do it better. So in that context, therefore, one of the things we also must appreciate is the role of business, global business, in these challenges that we face. And therefore, the ESG framework did develop as a way of managing that complex interaction between what is, after all, positive developments in our world and the challenges that arise as a result of that. Of course, linking back to sustainable development in its origins in 1992 or 72, if you're looking a bit further back. So, we have come to understand that the way to manage these global challenges, whether that be in the manufacturing sector, whether that be in institutions, including educational institutions, is about ensuring that we balance the environment, social, and governance aspect of our processes, our systems, and our institutions. What this means is that we all understand what ESG is, and that we have competent practitioners to implement that. But that is not necessarily the case. Because, sadly, there is a huge gap in ESG practitioners that are available to manage all of these systems, processes that we talk about globally. And what we've done all along, and we still continue to do, is that we take a very siloed approach to addressing the challenges that we face. And that is where education for sustainable development comes in. So the idea of education for sustainable development is that it is a lifelong process. It isn't something that you go to a university, you get certificated, you get your award, and voila, you're good for life and you can go. The idea behind ESD is that we continue to understand and we continue to learn and we continue to implement our learning on an ongoing process or basis. And the other key thing about ESD is that it is about ensuring transformation. And I underline the word transformation in the course of global developmental challenges. And that is important, that is essential to note, because in a way we take a very piecemeal approach, to addressing some of these challenges. But if we're to implement ESD in its best form, it talks about transformational societal change. And that change needs to happen at the level of the cognitive. So yes, the science, the technology, we need to understand the processes, the systems that impact on the earth. So there needs to be that cognitive understanding or learning. But there is also the socio-emotional and behavioral dimensions of that learning. So how do the systems come about? And I was very pleased when I noted in Dr. Camar's initial presentation, when he was talking about the social aspects of that research and how those could be drivers for some of the things that have been discovered in that area. But I would want to say we perhaps need to go a little bit further beyond just understanding what the drivers are to how we implement and what the social, environmental, governance aspects of those are as well. One of the things I often tell my students is that, and I know that there are lots of scientists in this room, but I say our problem as scientists. If they never discovered anything, we wouldn't have any problems. So the key challenge we have is that scientists discover, they make things better, they improve our standards of living, and then maybe 100 years down, they said, oh my God, oops, we didn't think about this, oops, we didn't know about that, oops, it causes cancer. So the idea that inherent in technological development itself is a need to be self-reflective and to game out some of the potential implications of developmental science in and of itself and of the processes of implementation. Because we may not be there to understand what some of the implications of these are, but further down the line, those could be challenges going forward. And closely linked to that are the 17 SDGs that we all talk about in this space. And what we find is that the SDGs understand that all of these areas that we talk about are interlinked and interrelated, and that they are not bespoke, independent ideas or items that we need to study in silos. So if we're thinking about one area of study, for instance, the air quality has a lot to do with health. It has a lot to do with poverty. It has a lot to do with water quality it has all of those interlinkages. And without understanding those interlinkages and how we ensure that how we study the problem and how we find solutions to the problem are holistic, then we may have challenges. So, if we look at the SDGs, therefore, and we look at ESD are those three components that I talked about right at the middle. The cognitive, the behavioral, the social. And then underpinning that is that wider sphere of each and every one of the SDGs. Closely linked to that is SDG 4 that talks about quality education. And that's what I want to explore a little bit more. So, what are the milestones for education for sustainable development? As I said, we all understand that we face significant challenges in the Anthropocene, and that we need to take decisive steps to begin to understand and resolve these challenges. What has been the problem, however, is the siloed thinking. And so back in 1992, as part of Agenda 21, Chapter 36, already introduced this idea that education was going to be central to managing global environmental challenges. Back in 1992, that was understood. And then in 2002, UNESCO, under the aegis of of the UN, declared the Decade of Education for Sustainable Development. And I still recall at the time I was doing some work at UNEP in Nairobi, and there was this whole agenda for mainstreaming sustainability in university education. However, at the time, we were working under the aegis of the Millennium Development Goals, so a lot of that focus was on developing countries and how developing countries could enhance their education to introduce sustainability. And then in 2014, the Global Action Program was launched in Japan as part of the follow-on from the Decade of Sustainable Development. That led to 2015, the current 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development, which includes specifically Agenda 4, SDG 4, was adopted. 2019, the UNESCO General Conference adopted ESG for 2030. And in 2021, ESG for 2030 roadmap was launched. And at each of these stages, it was a clear understanding that sustainability in all its concepts, that is what we call ESG now, the environment, the social, the governance, was essential if we were going to truly address the global challenges that we face in the context of the Anthropocene. So, what are some of the key directions? First of all, it raises awareness of all of the SDGs in education settings and promotes the critical contextualization of the understanding of SDGs. In other words, whether it's geography or it is chemistry or it is engineering, there is the need to contextualize that understanding beyond a project-based, a research-based outlook on the SDGs to a wider, more inclusive, more holistic approach. And the next thing is to mobilize action towards the achievement of the SDGs across all the various skills. Inherent in that is what I talked about earlier on, transformative action, structural changes, and technical failure. And we know that this is something that as universities is key to us, because if there's one thing about universities, we're very structured. We know our disciplines. We know how our disciplines think. We know the methodologies in our discipline and how we do them. And then while we talk about interdisciplinarity, we always often use interdisciplinary as an add-on. So I'm doing this project on XYZ. Maybe I'll need a lawyer to come on board to do this bit. Yeah? Or maybe I'll need a geographer to come on board to do this bit. But if we're really to do ESD properly, it goes beyond a single module, it goes beyond a single additional person to mainstreaming sustainability across that process. And learners need to be aware of that holistic process. And as teachers, we need to ensure that that is happening. So, what that means is it needs to happen outside of the curriculum, within the curriculum, and various other frameworks that are available within the university to mainstream sustainability. Everyone in university, regardless of what subject they studied, including physics, needs to understand that when we go to space, there could be something called space debris, and there are implications for that. Yeah? Not just about the science of how I make sure that they go there and they can come back. Because that's just one aspect. And oftentimes you have these conversations and you do not necessarily have that broader understanding. So I've just listed on there some of the things that we do at Bradford to ensure this wider understanding. But something else that we've done at Bradford in the School of Law is to mainstream sustainability across the program. Because while we talk about siloed approach between disciplines, we also find that we have siloed approach within disciplines, where we say, I am a ex-geographer. You know, I'm a human geographer. You know, that's what I do. And somebody else is. Do you understand what I mean? We kind of have these differences even within our disciplines. And that is the case with law. So what we did is to say, let's try an experiment. In 2019, we revised our entire master's programs in law, and we mainstreamed sustainability across the board. Whether you were doing commercial law, corporate law, AI and technology law, whatever, everybody had to be involved in that. And we mainstreamed a module across the entire curriculum, and we put students in groups where students studying different subject areas had to come together to solve real-world problems in a transformative manner. And then the delivery was also different. We brought in experts from across the board to deliver the module so that students could see case studies from different perspectives and begin to try and find solutions to some of the real-world problems that they will face in those contexts. How many minutes do I have? 2 minutes. 2 minutes, okay. So some of the key principles we adopted was that first, if you want to do this, we have to make the module accessible, regardless of your background. And we made it accessible beyond law. So students from engineering, for instance, take this module. So if they were doing construction or all of that, they were also doing this as well. We contextualized the learning in the sense that it was very much project-based or case study-based, so that students could apply whatever they learned academically in a practical context. We connected to the SD theory and SDGs framework, and we encourage every student to think critically. And by doing that, we would ask questions around, what if this was different? If it was not happening in, say, the UK, it was happening in Nigeria, how would your thinking be different? What are some of the things you will take into consideration in modeling that? And that ensures that we're not trying to just transplant solutions, but we're trying to understand solutions in context of the particular socioeconomic, technological, whatever background of individual spaces that the students were working with. And by doing that, what we did was to ensure that the students were able to adopt all of the 3 elements of ESD that we talked about. Now, what was interesting is that we faced a lot of resistance. So a student registers for corporate law, and they think they're coming to do, trade law, investment law, and all of that. And you're telling them to do a module on sustainability. And they're asking, why on earth do I have to do this? So we find there was a lot of resistance, which proved the point that we did not still understand as a society that sustainability isn't an environmental issue, environmental law issue for environmental practitioners. That in whatever space we find ourselves, we are all part and parcel of that. So that was the first challenge. But when we concluded this process, because the first thing we did was, I said, we did contextual learning. So we'll bring a project, for instance, HS2 in the UK, and we'll say, look, what are the human rights dimensions of this? What are the social impacts of this? If you're a corporate lawyer advising your client, what are some of the things that you need to take into consideration in this? What is the law as it relates to this particular matter, and where are the gaps? What could we do differently? So it was that kind of thinking that we brought into the classroom. And at the end of the module, most of the students actually said in the evaluation that it really engendered deep learning, that they were able to work with groups of people. So we had, for instance, activists in the classroom who were human rights lawyers. And so when you had the case, they could really advocate for what their contexts were. And the other outcome from this is that while it's been difficult to implement in the classroom, once students get to understand what it is about and the benefit of it, it has helped them to develop a strong interest in sustainable development, and also they've generated their own ideas for what they could do when they go back to their own country context as a result of the module. One of the things that has really been interesting is the students who do AI, law, and technology, because it's made them think a lot more about ESG, which was something that they did not think was part and parcel of what they were doing at all when they first came to university. So,
I'm sorry, Prof. Engobo.
This is my final slide.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Prof. Engobo. I know that we have a lot to talk, a lot to share today. It's very, very interesting and inspiring sharings from Professor Engobo from the University of Bradford. I believe that after this we're going to have more discussions and engaging sessions. Well, I think let's move to our final speakers. My colleagues from Universiti, Teknologi, Malaysia. Well, known professor in senior technologist Dr. Muhammad Fadhil bin Maddin. Professor Fadhil will be sharing with us about the sustainability practice and navigating towards ESF campus transformations. So please welcome. The floor is yours, Prof.
Okay, thank you very much to our chairperson. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh, and good afternoon to all. I do believe that maybe some of us already full of informations. You are giving a lot of attentions towards to such a very interesting points when our speakers before me is actually talking about more conservative in terms of those activities, research, related as, and also the last speaker before me is actually looking toward the ESG, something like that. Okay, but maybe I would like to bring some narrative that maybe give you another transformations agenda when we are talking about the planetary health, right? I think everybody knows that we are usually is coming from university. Now, towards to the end of 2030, we may heard something else, multiversity. Can we do that once? So Malaysia is now looking towards to multiversity. It means that we are not only focusing such of the part of our curriculums, our programs only for that particular university, but we are actually collaborating each other. So this is what my attention to bring over on navigating to the ESG campus transformation. So maybe this kind of subject is quite, well known for many of us, especially when we are talking about the environmental solutions, environmental research, and everything related towards to the sustainability. So, but I'm not talking too much on that aspects. Okay. So, what I'm trying to do is giving you another trigger factors that why this kind of sessions is talking about the ESG. The first attention by many of us is exactly because we are not a corporate sectors. We even not from the manufacturers. We also not as the industrialized, scheme that needs that kind of compliance, standardizations towards to that kind of, making a profit-oriented or businesses. But believe us and believe all of us, actually what we are actually producing is a talents, right? This is our assets in the university. Because in maybe 20 years ago, people wanted to go to university because they learned they need to be, upgrading their skills, they need to get a kind of higher educations, and afterwards they can get kind of promoted to be as one of maybe in the jobs creation, filling the job requirements. But nowadays, people talking about the job creations and how we actually university can support this kind of activities. Because when the student come to the university, what they actually the first thinking of all the priority when they are moving to the higher education. They are not talking anymore about the conventional or traditional. And our professor already mentioned about the ESD coming soon towards to the curriculums. But more than that, like for example, in Malaysia, people talking about what exactly the premium employability they can gain towards to that kind of, system. If I'm not going to university, can I get premium employability? Yes. But when you come to university, we can give you another value for you. So this is a kind of positions why we having this kind of, we call it as long-term sustainability. So because university needs to think about the strategy, because we need to be relevant and rational towards to our students, our major stakeholders that coming to the university. The next one, of course, because we are talking about the research and educations, what kind of research that actually can very concerned towards to developments in terms of future-oriented or the field that very attractive to the students. For example, maybe right now, if they are not coming to the university, they can go to ChatGPT They can go to kind of tools. They can learn many things about the YouTube, everything. But once they are coming to this innovative research and education, like for example, in UTM, you are well known, we are actually as technical university. In 1970s, we are as School of Techniques. So it means that we have a DNA. But once towards to the future oriented, what exactly our potential serve to that particular students? Because they're still thinking that UTM as a technical university can give another innovative solution for the mankind, for the manufacturing and the industry. So you cannot learn it by yourself, you have to come to university. So that's the things when we call as the innovative. Another one of the resource management. That's why I love the campus transformations. Before you teach someone, you need to make sure that your campus is operating as you teach your students. So it means that the assets that you are manage, your water, your land, your energy, is look like you are the municipality in that kind of manner. So this is the ESG is talking about on the environmental protection, what you can control it. Whatever you contribute back to the student will be as another external stakeholder. When they are graduated, they are coming to some of the industry, they also contribute back to that particular industry. So this is something that we have to measure that how university can manage the resources itself. On top of the another part that's very, very important, and maybe I would like to highlight on the risk management. For example, like when we are talking about the particular standards that what we offer to our stakeholder, the major stakeholder is our students. What exactly the potential towards to the mitigation risk to university? One of that is fees. The high fees that actually people have to pay for the educations, or you have to provide free educations. So which one that you are serving for your students? It depends to your context. This kind of package is actually very important because it will deliver back towards to your society. Because some universities, they are giving subsidiary. Like for example, in Malaysia, we are giving subsidy for our local students. International, they have to pay non-subsidiary, something like that. So why we are focusing on these things? Do we still need that kind of things, or we have to embed another packages, another schemes that for the student to get more resilience? Another one is on the regulatory compliance and the financial sustainability. Because in major university, especially in Malaysia, they only get a little bit amounts, budgets from the government. The rest, they have to get somewhere else, from their spin-off company, from their research, from their innovation, whatever it is, they have to self-generating in order for them to sustain the campus itself. So it means that there is some kind of entrepreneurship that we embed in our campus orientations. So this is something like what kind of stability that we are talking about. So another one that very important, because I'm always debating, or not debating, we are actually making a kind of discussions. Are we actually provide a kind of research, educations, whatever it is, based on our assumption or based on our stakeholders' expectations? Are we actually doing that? Are we actually making a very good practice to our stakeholders? For example, if you talk to the students when they come to university, what they are the first expectation? The first expectation is a good facilities, what we call international standard facilities that you can provide to the students. On top of that, they're also looking towards to somewhat the added value. For example, if they are coming from maybe somewhere else, from Indonesia, from Philippines, they want to learn the new culture, embed in the kind of local culture, for example. So it means that this is a kind of the stakeholders that need to be maintain a positive relationships for the student itself. But more importantly, how about our investor? The investor that actually need to be a kind of very good partnership together in order to make sure that what kind of potential assets and other types of resources that can also be as part of the components, and as well as on the funding and investment for that improvement on the financial prospect. So this is what in the reality is ESG is already in our university, because this is only recently people talking about ESG, but ESG is already embedded in our university campus operation for so long. So nobody knows about this. So when I talk to the top management, we already have our ESG, but we are not really wanted to be flexible and reflects what we actually can improve further in terms of that. So in order to make sure that we are consistently moving towards to that kind of, future learners, future orientations, future education, so we need to embed this kind of element and criteria. So our friends already mentioned more important things about the environmental, like we have air pollution things, we have a sustainable and eco-friendly things, as well as other kind of elements in, in environment. Like for example, the energy and also the carbon neutrality, people talking about these things. But as I mentioned earlier, another part of very important types is actually how this can embed in terms of the knowledge transfer that will be outreach us internally and externally. Internally means our campus operations. External is actually our industry, our NGOs, and the other governmental agencies. Okay? And the most important things our friends already mentioned about the SDG, the 17 SDGs, and I always mention that we have SDG 18. What the SDG 18 is all about? The spirits of the SDG. So in order to get that spirits and spiritual of the SDG, so this is exactly our targeted, integrating in higher education, related towards to what exactly the commitment of the SDG related in higher education, what exactly the frequent that already been reported in higher education, but which one exactly we need to emphasize more. So this is the things that we have to include, and this is also a kind of topics that relates, especially when we call about the sustainable communities, circular economy, climate change, and also the partnership. So this is a part of the integration that we have to embed in the higher education, especially towards to the planetary health. And last but not least, this is what we already designed, the culture and also the added terms when we have a kind of data. So since I want to say that UTM is already been appointed as faculty of AI last year. So we are as a national agenda in terms of AI. So it means that we are coming to this kind of databases. So we are reporting to the national government what exactly that kind of tools. And UK is actually most very much advanced towards to the AI. So we are actually moving, catching up what exactly the technology is all about. But in terms of the environmental and sustainability, so we are making a kind of what exactly the targets that we need to embed in our planetary health indicators, especially in our campus operation. So what exactly our measurements, what exactly a kind of critical things in terms of circular economy, what kind of the achievement that we want to target, and what exactly the dollar and cents that we can reduce to optimize the resources. So in terms of that, we are actually valued the performance in terms of preservations, growings, and organization in overall. So it means that it will bring back what exactly the spirits, as I mentioned, we have SDG 18, to be more spiritual and to be more engaged with someone. All right, and this is part of the activities. I do believe that many of us already doing this is in many recent activities, especially this is what part of the social interactive. Nowadays, people talking about the TikToks, they are talking about more engage physically rather than go for only on videos, conferencing, whatever. They prefer to be more engaged with the people over there. So believe me that when we are doing some physical activities, there's some kind of interactions coming in, and also they are giving another kind of values in terms of that activities. And this is part of the projects that we are developed. This is exactly one of the very most prominent what can establish in terms of the level of interaction, because this is together with the municipality, the governments, as well as the industry. So the industry giving that kind of money, they put for the 3 years programs, so they are making a kind of interaction between the communities. So the community is becoming the leaders in that particular, so we are actually as the facilitator for them. So this is another strategy in order for us to bring over those kind of things that we call it as ESG for planetary health. We are actually making that kind of community becoming a leaders. So with that, I would like to thank all of you and to close this kind of discussions. This kind of ESG is actually already in our campus operations and also in educations. But most of the important aspect that we have to deliver is what exactly the benefits, especially towards to their expectations when we are deliver these things. And we need to ensure that this not sustained for one-off activities. This must be in terms towards to what exactly the contribution to other peoples. So you can look to our website. So this is, you can look around. So we have a blueprints we already putting there. We have the AI principles that we actually embed with the sustainability. And there are a few things that in the TikToks, you can see that our student leaders also having a kind of, speak about the sustainability, because we want them to be part of our contributions. So with that, I would like to thank you. Thank you very much. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Thank you very much, Prof. Fadhil, for the sharing sessions, for the sharing information about the sustainability campus. And Prof. Fadhil is actually director of sustainability office of UTM. So I think what he's sharing is more like what has been done in UTM. Well, I think with that presentation, we will now move to a discussion session. I would like to invite all of the esteemed speakers to be seated at the front chairs on the stage with me, so that we can begin the discussions and questions and answer sessions. Please. Okay, so although we are not many in the rooms, but we're also taking questions from those who is online, right? So Dr. Nadia will bear with me if there is a questions raised from the online. But before that, I would like to do some recap about what have been delivered just now. Our first speaker, Mr. Camar Ameril, was talking about the One Health interdisciplinary strategies for antimicrobial resistance for planetary health. And in the Philippines, he shared about there are, I think, about 6 projects, sub-projects and multidisciplinary projects to combat against the AMR. This is more on the aspects on the health, I think. And then later we have Dr. Kasemsan from Mongkut University of Thailand, and he was talking about the air quality, a topic that is quite close to me as well. He was showing about remote sensing things, so I think we have something in common just now. And he was talking about the current research trends, which is, I think that is a part of the metadata studies about what is going on that particular topics, and seeing how it's been linked from the air quality to health impact, health effects, and also lung cancers. So I think that is how it is moving now from the environment to the public health. And then the third speakers that we have, Prof. Engobo was sharing about education for sustainable development. I think that was one among of the inspiring sharing about the ESG topic. how we do it and how we do it better. And he also shared some of the imperative and competent that require competent practitioners. And also she was also talking about action research for sustainable development. And then finally we have our Professor Fadhil was sharing about the sustainability practice just now towards the ESF campus transformations. So he was sharing about SDG 18. Okay, and then the spirits of, which is the spirit of the SDG. I think that is a very interesting point to underscore and highlight to capitalize that. And also how the university could be, I think it could become a living model of the SDG itself. Okay. Now I would like to open questions to the floor, if you have any questions, so that I'm expecting questions. I hope I receive questions today so that this session could be more engaging. Please. Okay. Anyone, Prof?
Yeah, I can start maybe, and then later on some additional points from the other speakers. So in the Philippine setting, in the area of health research, for example, this one of the biggest funding national agency is the Department of Science and Technology, and it has many branches or units like the Philippine Council for Research and Development. And when the researchers from different HEIs are proposing projects, research projects, they give us themes of which it is anchored actually to the Sustainable Development Goals. So at the national level, they have a national agenda for health research and development, for example. And then when they screen it, they really evaluate if that research project related to health, for example, addresses which sustainable development goal. So that is how it works. And yeah, there are many politicians from the legislative branch who also advocate, and we also work hand in hand. So the HEIs, along with the politicians, the government is working together in addressing those different development goals. And the OST, for example, the Department of Science and Technology also has this National Academy of Science and Technology. These are seasoned experts and scientists of the country which act as advisory board to the government office, to the executive branch of the government. So that is how it works in the Philippine setting. Yeah.
Thank you. I think that's a brilliant question. And I think from the perspective of my presentation, the idea behind ESG really is that it must be disruptive. You know, it's one of the core pillars of ESG. And that in and of itself means that it's about how we revolutionize education in a way that disrupts conventional thinking. So the examples I drew upon was definitely drawing upon my program and the students we have in that program. But underpinning all of that really is policy. So a lot of the case studies they look at, it's around, for instance, one of the things I said was, what are the policy gaps? What are the gaps in the law that needs addressing? How can we look at this? So if we're making a law around technology, for instance, what are some of the other dimensions we need to be thinking about to ensure planetary Earth 10 years from now, 50 years from now, when we look back and say, oh my God, AI, you know, and all of the challenges. So a lot of the governance, for instance, around AI is not about the individual, it's about how we put in the systems, the processes, the structures in place to ensure planetary health longer run or environmental health longer run. So no, it is not, the individual has a role to play. I think universities play a critical role as, and I think Professor Fadhil said this, as the educators. So we're critically placed to mold minds for the future generations. But that is so that all systems, whether that be within institutions or governmental level or within the private sector or the NGOs, are all primed to think about ESG as part and parcel of what they do.
To respond to the question, Prof. Fadhil, please.
Okay, I think in terms of the perspective of educations, in terms of the government policies there, in Malaysia, we already recently distribute the ESG policy statement by all universities. So it's actually mandatory, it's coming from Ministry of Higher Educations. On top of that, we actually having a few plannings under the Academic Science of Malaysia towards to the planetary health. So we are being engaged with many stakeholders, especially from Mohd, our Minister of Science and Technology, towards to what exactly the modules that suitable to embed, not only towards to the environmental solutions, but there must be something on the businesses, those kind of laws, policies and everything to develop in a kind of sectorials in terms of that kind of, making people's is actually is not in the silos, it's not in your only portfolios. So that's number one. And number two, we are now working towards to what exactly the ecosystems that have to embed, because Malaysia is towards to the data oriented as well as the data centers. In Johor by itself, we already have a billions investment coming in for the data centers. And that one of the very big reasons for Johor towards to the green deals. They are working towards to the frameworks there. And we are so lucky UTM is being involved for that kind of discussion with the state government. So maybe this is a part of our opportunity as the educators, as you mentioned, and what exactly the realistics on towards to that kind of technology that you have to adapt. Otherwise, it's just use that kind of technologies and maybe you have some failure cases like we have a few years before when we are industrialize our manufacturers. So this is one of the reasons why now our government is a very focusing in how to harnessing and harmonize between these kind of sectors. So maybe that's my response.
For me, I just want to thank Professor Kancher. I mean, it's interesting point that we should think about. For my presentation, I think that one I need to add something. I think that I didn't mention, and I should mention now is like in my school, Camar, we have I think that it's been 2 years, 3 years already. We have set a target, okay, sustainability target towards the years 2030, okay, and we look at many indexes and some of which are related to environment and also PM 2.5. And this goal is we try to align our study programs, curriculums. We try to align them with the sustainability target, and which is pretty much driven by the UN target, and of course PM 2.5 or haze, urban haze is pretty much omnipresent, and everyone in Bangkok and Greater Bangkok somewhere somehow they encounter this problem. So we don't have to to try to suggest this is going to be a problem because it's already there, and then people experience that. But when I started my career 20 years ago, when we talk about urban haze or PM 2.5, it's very hard to find person to understand. Okay, lucky that the government, the central, Thai government invested a lot of money on monitoring system across Thailand so that we can measure, we can see how good and how bad PM 2.5 is. And well, the linkage is really straightforward. The problem we don't have to worry because it's already there. People know it is there, and then we need to contribute something in order to have the problem decrease or the problem mitigated. Given Camar is technological university, we have had a long-term relationship with industry and long-term relationship with energy sector. Okay, so this is pretty much, and also lately, during past 5 years, I think 5 to 6 years, okay, we try to promote curriculum related to data science. So when we're looking at energy sector, industrial, and also data science, this is something that we want to utilize and take advantage. And then, in terms of research and develop or refine curriculums, and also have more and more dialogue with contributing sectors like that. This is what I would like to say for now.
All right. Okay, yes, please. Probably just a short one because we have a few more questions here from the online participants.
Yeah, so I would like to ask about the Mindanao State University experience. So ESG is, as a professor here have mentioned, this has already been practiced in the university, but we didn't really formally institutionalize it. But for the university in the current administration, we are partnering, we are tying up, we are finding partners in order to improve the ESG in the university. In fact, just a few months ago, we had memorandum of agreement signing with SUSTEC in Singapore, of which we wanted to, the university under the leadership of the current administration, we wanted to move forward and assess the university practices and incorporate the ESG into the system of the university. Yeah, so this is one of our initiatives at the university level.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much. Do you want to add something? Because we have questions from
Right, no,
the
this won't
online
take long at all. The only thing I wanted to add was that, again, back to the question and what the role of the individual is at a policy level. I think part of the idea behind mainstreaming sustainability in education is that ultimately politicians are driven by what the choices are of their people. And I still don't know any government that has gone into power campaign on the back of we're going to make the earth clean or we're going to ensure planetary earth. And that's because the push from the populace isn't about that aspect of their lived experiences because of the lack of understanding. So the idea that ESG is lifelong and mainstream it will ensure that it comes to the top of the policy agenda, and that in itself can then transform how politicians see these issues and how they implement in policy and law.
Okay, thank you very much. So, but just hold on. I will add some questions there because there is a continuity from questions here. One of the audience was asking if there are any needs for a proper policy that can cover all the initiative. Because now it's like in a pieces, and we have to stitch them together. So do you think that we need policies that covers everything in one roof?
I will say yes and no, which is kind of like sitting on the fence. But the reason why I say yes is the idea that we need to think about our current global challenges in a holistic form, and that we're not threading the needle through all of these separate things. We're not seeing how environmental issues, for instance, leads to social concerns, leads to conflict, leads to economic impact, and all of that. So we're trying to deal with all of them as different issues. So when we have COP, we deal with climate change. When we have a trade, whatever, we deal with trade. And the idea behind mainstreaming sustainability is that it underpins everything. However, that doesn't take away from the fact that we still need some level of in-depth approach to addressing specific issues. So it's a combination of both, where we have the understanding that at a policy level, at an educational level, we need to mainstream sustainability. But in terms of resolving some of these problems, I don't know anything about how you actually manage air pollution. So somebody has to have the cognitive understanding, which is one of the strands of ESD. You need to have the cognitive understanding to be able to address that issue in depth. But in addressing it, do not create new problems, because you understand the potential impact of some of the interventions that you may be proposing.
Okay, I just want to add, Prof. Engobo, what she already mentioned. It's a very interesting point when someone's mentioned about one policy and for all. Okay, yes, actually, in terms of the policy, maybe that kind of questions reflects back to the commitment. When we have a policy, it's a kind of commitment. Are we actually willing to make it a kind of commitments towards to the end of that's the entire solutions when we have that kind of putting as our policy, our own one of the policy. One of the examples, maybe if we are talking about the energy sectors, we are talking about the water sectors, they have their own policy, especially when they are trying to make a kind of resource optimizing some kind of, materials there and everything. So what kind of policy that have to embed there? So nowadays, people's not only talking about the policy itself. Policy is something like maybe you can make it kind of strategy, the long-term strategy and the mid-terms. But the most important thing is what the phases of implementations. So how you reflect from what you have so far in maybe 5 years, you already put that kind of frameworks in your organizations. And are you actually really committed to do that things towards to the end of the solutions? Maybe there are some few things that you have to bear some responsibility. So that's why ESG is talking about responsibility, transparency, and accountability. So that's the major works that we have to put inside there. So that's why I said SG18. So it means that how's the passion, the spirits that we have to embed when we have that kind of very beautiful policy there, but we are not really committed to do that. So the most important thing is implementations. Okay?
Okay, thank you very much. I think there is also another follow-on question that is suitable for Prof. Fadhil to probably continue a little bit, extend that a little bit, because there is a question about it. So it says ESG is a big thing in the industry. It's covered three main factors just now we're talking. So why do you think the university and the academic worlds are slow to follow? I think probably he made a response for that, whether he's agree that academia is slow to follow that, or please.
Okay, I think that kind of, there are a few, I think 2 directions when that question is coming out from that perspective. The first one, of course, nowadays people talking about the compliance factors. So when they are public listed, for example, in Malaysia, so they have to follow those kind of rubric and metric by Bursa Malaysia, for example. So that's mandatory. So people is forced to do that. But in universities, we are serving as resources. Universities should be as a resources because we are producing what? Factory of talents. So when we are producing the things, we are equip them with a kind of green job talents, green job competencies, those kind of, upskill and reskillings that they have to embed towards to that kind of industry. What kind of industry are we talking? Are we talking about the manufacturing? Are we talking about the products or innovation? So it depends. So universities should serve as that because we are not producer of products. What we are producing that kind of talents. So that's the first thing. The second one, because university is actually a kind of catalyst that we are actually giving a kind of what the best solutions, the innovation towards to the industry. For example, in Malaysia, 90% of our industry is coming from the SMEs. It's not the major industry, not the big industries. We are from the SMEs. So it means that the millions of spendings towards to that kind of ecosystem is only towards to a very low-end technology adaptations. So it's not a high-end. So how we are coming towards to that the high-end, like a very big technology in Malaysia nowadays, people talking about the EV. But the EV is only assembled in Malaysia and we just we are just delivered to the customers. But how about those kind of things that we have to think about the battery solutions, those kind of technologies that we have to embed in terms of the spare parts, whatever it is. So this is something like to make a kind of, very important why university must be as a catalyst to this kind of, innovations and in the future of the ESG itself. So that's why when I said the ESG is actually a very big contributor to the nations, to the industry especially, we are not contributed towards to that kind of products, but the talent itself.
I think you make that point very clear that university roles is in different perspective, that we are producing the talent other than the end product itself. Do you want to add something, Prof. Engobo? You're holding the mic so that you probably wanted to add something.
It was handed to me. But I think I don't necessarily agree with the premise of the question in the sense that universities are latecomers to the game. I think a lot of the time universities are catalysts. However, the scalability of what universities can do relative to what governments can do is different. So for instance, at the University of Bradford, we've been a university of sustainable university for several years. We had accommodation that was award-winning as sustainable buildings and the like. And as I said, some of the structures and the framework, and indeed some of the things that Professor Fadhil said happens within UTM also indicates what universities do. I think where our challenge is around rethinking disciplinary approaches within universities. I think we're all deeply embedded in our disciplines, and how we manage to transform that, I think sometimes is a challenge. But in terms of pushing forward the agenda around sustainability, I think universities play a critical role, including around some of the challenges of emerging technologies. So, for instance, we all know that some people are screaming about AI and the governance issues around AI. We just carry on doing the research anyways. So how do we embed some of these things in those processes? I think sometimes it's a challenge.
I agree with that. Thank you very much. I think I would like to open probably one questions from the audience here. Before I read it, we have another one question from the online, but before that, I would like to open up to any of you. Any questions? Okay. Well, I think I will read. I think this is the final questions I think we have. Okay. So this question is about the future for the education. So the questions said, can you see what is the future for education in sustainable development? Yes, please.
Oh, God, that's such a big question. It's such a big question. But I think ultimately, more universities need to focus on ESG 2030. And I say this because a lot of the time when I talk about this, even amongst colleagues, like, oh, what's ESG 2030? We all know the SDGs, but not necessarily how that relates to us as educators. Yeah? So I think a better understanding of how we could use it as a platform for reinventing education within universities, I think is critical. There was quite some really good work that was done by UNESCO, UNEP around how we mainstream sustainability in universities. But as I said, I think a lot of that focus was on developing countries. And I think we need to reimagine that within the context of SDGs and how we as modern universities can mainstream programs in such a way that sustainable development isn't just an adjunct, just something we add on. So we teach them everything about engineering. And then we do a model around the ethics, but how they can begin to think about this iteratively as part of the learning process, I think may be key.
So for me, I think the future of education when it comes to, mainstreaming sustainability is that universities should develop curriculum or curricula that are more of interdisciplinary, because instead of working like individually as a discipline, there should be more of working together to achieve those sustainable development goals. And we cannot go alone. We should go and move forward all together. So taking into the holistic approach that we need to achieve those goals.
Just want to add, be careful, sustainability is not for the environments only. So I do suggest and recommend those actually coming from different faculties and departments, you are also sustainability manners on top of that. So this is a message to all of us, because sustainability is not belongs to one or single departments. Okay, that's number one. Number two, that in the future oriented in terms of educations, we have a flexible education by now, not only on the ODL, the online distance learning that we already propose, because someone or somebody, or maybe there are some other peoples, they are not really friendly towards to the ODL. Maybe they have some disruption in terms of accessing that kind of internet and everything. So we have to bear in mind in terms of that. And other ones, maybe it's not only the young one wanted to be as get the educations. Maybe someone who already retired. Be careful. The next future, the retired person wanted to be some reskilling and upskillings. For example, they wanted to be someone in the charity section and something that they want to use the AI tools for their businesses or small business, whatever it is. They need this kind of education. So be careful. Education is not only for the young one, not only for those actually just graduated from the A level, O level, but also those someone who are already retired? So that's the two messages for that questions.
I just want to add briefly. I think when it comes to the future, I think that it's also linked to the current. Okay, linked to the present, and then what I would like to highlight is the context. Okay, so whatever is going to be is, if we understand the context that we are dealing with, that we are staying in, we be able to provide clear definition of the context, and then we can different university, okay, may be located in different regions, and then since we are also on the same earth, also where we have a global issue together, so we have multi layers, okay, of the context, and then we ask us, okay, how what is our capacity, what can we do? If we understand the context, we can define, okay, what we're going to do, what we're going to address, and something like that. I think I just want to say context is a unique thing. Okay, if we understand our context very well, we should be able to find a place that we can do education so well and appropriately. Okay, thanks.
All right. All right, thank you very much. I think we don't have any questions from the online, and also I assume there is no further question from the floor. Okay, all right.
Just one more, and it's really coming full circle into government responsibility, by extension responsibility of universities as public bodies. And I know this is very, obviously taking into account context, but I've just been checking. I see that some of this is global, coming to Malaysia. So as some of you may know, we have corporate sustainability reporting directives in Europe, and it's coming in Malaysia and others. Should universities, as leaders, we talk about, we have ESG and everything in universities, we've been doing it forever, but we haven't reported it. Should we, as evidence of best practice and leaders in that, also be held to account and be required to report in the same as corporations? Do you think that would change how governments view their responsibilities, how we would be seen as thought leaders as opposed to merely educators of the prevailing dominant thought at the time, as you say, where is guilty because we're teaching certain things at this time. So would that help that we would be held to account in the same way as large corporations would be held to account?
Prof. Fadhil, could you respond to that? I think you are the best person to respond to the question.
Exactly, by now all the steering committee by the governments, they need to have universities. They already have engaged few universities that are supposed to be as the advisors, because we are not calling it as a consultants. That's number one. And number two, there are few road mappings coming to fulfill, especially we have a national transition energy policies there, and then manufacturing, transformative. So these two things is actually connecting to the government, what exactly their directions. And the educator is coming towards to that because, as I mentioned, university as a talents. We have expertise over here. So this is actually to serve a kind of another cofactors for the government to explore more. The next one, ASEAN. We have committees in ASEAN. We have so many steering committees in the ASEAN. And we are so blessing, we have youth committees. And I do believe that some of us already knows that we have a YSN with the ASM Academic Science of Malaysia that's actually directly towards to our governments. So this is exactly, I can say that ASEAN, for example, this is one of the examples that we are moving towards to this kind of advisory panels and everything. So I hope that this answers your questions, or maybe your opinions too.
Okay, thank you very much. I think we are just right on time. But let me do a quick wrap up about this session before we close and end it. Through this session, I think we have been talking about how universities have a unique opportunities actually to transform the campus into models of sustainability that could contribute to the broader goals of planetary health. And then also the path towards sustainability in higher education is multifaceted. So many bodies, parties are involved in that. It requires a high commitment to integrating the ESG principles into all aspects of institutional operations. Well, I think that's conclude a little bit about what's been discussed this evening. So I think I would like to thank all of our esteemed speakers this evening for a very, very informative and inspiring sharing. So let's give them a big round of applause. And thank you everyone for engaging sessions and also for staying with us until the end. So I think with that I end these sessions with terima kasih. Assalamualaikum.